welcome to American Beer TV. I've got my good buddy Dana with us today, and we are going to drink from Dogfish Head Brewing Company, Delaware. This is Midas Touch. I don't think we've ever had this one on the show. Dana was asking me about this beer today, so I said, you know what? I got a bottle of it. Let's drink it.
Who says Christmas don't come twice a year?
That's right.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a while to try this. Like I said, after the period that they did on the History Channel about this, just amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Where did they find a vessel?
There's
they found like an old clay pot or something like
yeah,
that?
they took it out with drinking bowls and such.
Yeah, we got some for
2,700 years ago, back during the Babylonian Empire, which is now Turkey.
So this is 9% ABV and only 12 IBUs, so it's not a very bitter beer, and it's gold, perfect gold color, just like King Midas would have it. So this was kind of named, Midas Touch after King Midas, which was, the vessel was found in Turkey, right?
Yeah, it's 2,700 years ago. Originally it was the Babylonian Empire, but now it's Turkey.
So that's what's cool now, is they can like swab the inside of a old pot that they find and kind of pick it apart and dissect what ingredients they use. They found it was honey, wine grapes. They used white muscat grapes, saffron. Saffron is in that whole Mediterranean area. Saffron is everywhere. You can get it really cheap. I know it's really expensive here, but it's really cheap to buy it there. A lot of people, when they go on vacation, always get like a big box of saffron and bring it back.
Exactly. Saffron
here is, like 10 or 15 bucks an ounce, and there it's like pennies. It's nothing.
Especially if you're really a traditional ale drinker or beer drinker, to be able to go back to the beginning. This is where it all started, right here. This is our roots.
So, and they used the saffron to actually bitter the beer, because hops weren't used to bitter beer back then, so they used the saffron.
And being able to cross over beer and to a wine.
Yeah, it's like a fusion beer. So what do you think of the nose of this beer? You get any of those wine characteristics?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Sweet. Yeah, no hop characteristic whatsoever. More like herbal spiciness comes through.
The grapes.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
Yes. It's a full aroma.
Yeah, it's
definitely
like
both.
Floral, huh?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, this could be. I mean, if you were to just smell the nose, like maybe almost like a saison or something like that too, would kind of have that.
Well, you know what? Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day, so I guess we'll say Erin go bragh, Ireland forever.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, you can taste the honey.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Right off the bat, huh?
Oh yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
That's pretty interesting. It's kind of
got a little bit of heat from the alcohol. You can taste a little bit there.
You know what? It's got more alcohol than your barley wines. Which, you know what, you can maybe kind of throw that in this kind of a category. But yet, you know what, it's very mellow.
The
12%.
You get some earthiness from the honey too.
Boy, you can taste that honey. Maybe this is what made the Babylonian Empire so great.
Yeah.
They were drinking this.
Well, beer back then was like a form of currency. And that's how you got people to work for you, was to give them beer.
Well, the English also had the meat, which was also honey-based.
Yeah, beer and meat and all that. I think even wine back in the day, that far back BC, it wasn't as strong. It probably wasn't 9%. It was probably more along the lines of 3 and 4%.
Yeah, this is something that you can drink all day long. It'd go good with fish and a steak. But if you're a diabetic, I wouldn't be drinking too much of it.
Yeah.
Force feeding. Maybe force feeding you a candy cane.
Yeah, to me, that honey comes through. It's got that real earthy note right through the middle.
Definitely,
and
well worth the wait.
Little sweet finish. Yeah, it's good. Dogfish Head always pulls out some weird shit, man. They, I think, they said this was the first of their ancient ales, and I think they were kind of onto something when they made this beer. They were like, let's dig deeper. So now they have beers from South America and all kinds of different from China. Yeah, they have another beer I forget. I can't pronounce the name of it. Junau or Chateau.
I think I've heard about that too.
Like that. And that's like a 9,000-year-old recipe.
You know, I wonder if they can actually.
And that one uses grape juice too. So.
I wonder if Doghead can actually get a hold of maybe an old Egyptian beer making recipe, because you know that was really popular in Egypt.
Yeah. I don't know if they have an Egyptian one. I'd have to look through their roster of beers. I've had quite a few beers from Dogfish. So.
It'd have to be what was native to the land.
Yeah, I mean, Egypt really, that whole area is kind of where it started. It was like pre-flood, you know, all along the Persian Gulf area. All that through there was all kind of where civilization started. They found that that was such fertile land that they could grow grains, and they would kind of stop the hunting and gathering aspect of life, and they kind of started to build little huts and stay in one spot and grow grain, and then from there they made bread. And it's funny, like, I've done a lot of research to see what came first. Was it bread or was it beer? Or why did they start civilization? Did they stop and did they start growing grain for bread, or did they start growing it for beer? And the closest I've come to finding out is both.
Really?
The bread and the beer went hand in hand. Like they knew at that time when all that stuff was starting to happen, they knew how to make bread, and they were just starting. They were actually using the bread to make the beer. They would take, there's a really old, there's a homebrew recipe if you look it up. You take old stale bread and you leave it in a pot of water, and as it kind of separates, then you kind of let it set out, and then the natural yeast kind of takes over. It's really funky stuff.
Well, save it for penicillin.
Yeah, it's really funky stuff, but I've heard of homebrewers trying it, and they make a really weak beer. It's like really super low in alcohol, but they can do it. Because the grain is milled and it's baked, and it kind of goes through like a similar form of malting process, because there are sugars that are coming out like when they're milling the grain and then they're heating it and all that stuff. They are creating starches and sugars and all that stuff. So it's kind of by accident. And the other story is that they were making bread, and that it rained on the pot of the flour or grain or whatever, and then overnight it started to ferment, and they drank the water, and it tasted sweet and nutrient. So they realized that they got a little head change off of it, and that was one of the things. That later on they started cooking it and stuff.
But you think about these beers with these honeys and all these particular grains and stuff. Most poor people couldn't afford it back in the day. Cause
well, that's why it was used as currency. It was like, it was like a big thing.
So the access actually to the stuff was probably limited to.
Maybe King Midas was this everything he touched turned to gold was a reference to beer, not necessarily the actual.
The fable behind
metal.
it.
Yeah.
The fable behind it.
Because that's probably a pretty good color of probably. I mean, this is all pale malts. If you have pale beer and honey, this is pretty much the color. The saffron might add a little more of that golden hue, because saffron is really red. If you ever put saffron in rice, it'll turn the rice like bright yellow.
And I drink this stuff, it was flat, you know what I mean? That's how good it is. I'm impressed. Jeff, you got a sweet tooth. You're on the right road right here.
Yeah. Yeah, just a hint of that kind of wine characteristic too. As it warms up a little bit, you get a little more.
You can taste it as it goes down across your tongue. It's got that like the bitter type wine.
Yeah. I wonder if I don't know if they used any hops at all. They might have used a little bit. I know Dogfish still tries to kind of make beer. I don't know if all of the bittering comes solely from saffron, but it could be. But
I wonder about the fermentation too. Because pilsners always ferment on the bottom. Your ales ferment on tops.
Yeah, I think this is an ale still. I think they're using ale.
So you think ferment on the top of it?
Yeah.
But it's excellent.
Cool.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Ken. Cheers.
Get out there and drink craft beer. Ancient craft beer.
The beer never fails to flow here.